I am tired of losing. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I am tired of losing. These are words that I wrote down some time ago as I sat down and began to reflect on my life. And I decided to have an honest reflection of my life, where I wasn't trying to pamper myself, where I wasn't trying to make myself feel better about where I am, but just having an honest conversation with myself about where I am. When was the last time you sat down and had an honest conversation with yourself? I'm not talking about you lying to yourself, you trying to trick your brain into making you feel comfortable where you are right now. I'm talking about you having an honest conversation with yourself about whether you are winning or losing, whether you are happy or unhappy, whether you are fulfilled or unfulfilled, whether you are satisfied or unsatisfied with your life as it is right now. When was the last time you had an honest conversation with yourself? Not trying to go around the corners and trying to convince yourself of things that aren't really there. When I sat down and had this conversation with myself, I began to just put my thoughts on paper. I was journaling, and the most important thing that I had to face for myself concerning this idea of winning and losing is just the fact that I have listened to a lot of people who told me that it was okay to just accept where you are because life is a journey and it's a marathon and we're all just running and popcorn doesn't pop at the same time and this and that and that and that. Listen, I know the difference between losing and making slow progress. There is a big difference, and I want to say this to you. You listening to me right now, there is a big difference between you losing and you making slow progress. Not that I'm an advocate for slow progress in the first place. I really do think that progress has to be steadily quick. But I'm saying to you that there is a big difference between you losing and you making slow progress. And so what ends up happening is that you end up just convincing yourself that no, I'm on my way. It's just that it happens for people at different times, different seasons and different strides for different folks, and popcorn doesn't pop at the same time, and it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and I remember that a couple of years ago, I received some of the most sage advice that I ever have in my life from a man that I really respected. And he said to me, Poloko, listen, life is not a marathon as most people think it is. It is a sprint. Life is a sprint. It is not a marathon. No one gets better slowly. No one gets rich slowly. And of course, what happens, I don't know. I don't want to start making accusations or throwing accusations towards anyone, but I do believe that there is some kind of system that has been put in place to intentionally keep us in the same place by convincing us that everything is meant to happen slowly until you get to a point where you are numb to the fact that you are losing. There is a difference between making slow progress and losing. And many of us, if we just be honest with ourselves, we will realize that we are not making slow progress. We're losing. Year in and year out, we're in the same position. And the funny thing about it is, if you think you're in the same position as you were in last year at this time, chances are you are in a worse off position. It's one thing to be 21 years old and broke, but it's another thing to be 41 years old and broke. So you were broke in both seasons, but because time has passed since you were 21 years old, you are worse off. You are moving backwards. And so when I sat down and I said to myself that I was tired of losing, when I sat down and decided that it was time to change something. And when I say this, I mean there had to be a point where I had to be drastic with myself. I said to myself, either you give up on everything or you get serious about winning. Either you let everything go and stop talking about everything that you're going to do. Because right now, you are just a liar. Everything that you said you would do, everything that you said would be done by now that is not yet done. All the goals that you said would be done by now that are not yet achieved. The things you said you would do. Haven't done yet. So either you're going to get very intentional about winning, or you're going to give up entirely. But you're not going to leave it to chance. You're not going to leave it just to see what happens. And so the first thing that I did is I sat down and I asked myself, what do you want? What do you want? Just write down everything that you want. Write down all the goals that you have. Write down the dreams that you have. I began to sit down, just write it down. I wrote it down. And then the next thing that I had to do for myself was make my resolutions. And this is the mistake that most people make. Most people think that goals are resolutions. Goals are not resolutions. These are two different things. I made some resolutions around different areas of my life. First of all, I wrote down the word time. I realized that I had been wasting my time. I sat down and I just did a simple accounting of the past 7 days and the past 48 hours and the past 24 hours. And I realized that most of my time was not going towards the things that I said I wanted to achieve. It's a terrible way to live. It's a terrible way to live, to claim that you want one thing, but most of your time is not going there. And for some of us, if you sat down and did some accounting of your time, you will realize that on the one hand, you say that you want to be the greatest at whatever, but at the same time, Netflix has most of your time, music has most of your time, pointless and mindless podcasts have most of your time. You realize that most of your time is spent doing things that don't contribute in any kind of way to where you are going. So my resolution was, if anything does not contribute to where I'm going, it is a waste of my time. If it doesn't contribute to my well-being, it is a waste of my time. It has to contribute either to my well-being or to where I'm going. I know, Poloko, but what about, just live life a little? Listen, I spend time with friends because it's good for me. But I don't spend too much time with friends. Sometimes I have to be unavailable. Most times I have to be unavailable. You have to be. And the second word that I put down was focus. I realized that nothing really gets done without focus. Focus is the exclusion of everything else to focus on the one thing that you want more than anything. Focus. I realized, I've come to learn from myself and from other people as well, that focusing is one of the most difficult tasks that anyone has to do, right? Here, I'll give you a simple exercise. If you just sit down for 10 minutes, pick a task, and for 10 minutes, see if you can go an entire 10 minutes focused on one task without your mind drifting onto something else. See if you can do it. Focus. I realized that if I'm going to do anything, I would need to be extremely focused, laser sharp. I would have to be good at excluding things that are not contributing to where I'm going. I would have to get so good at saying no. And I am still getting better at it. The third word that I wrote down for myself was excellence. And more specifically, to be excellent at my level. To be excellent at every single level. We tend to have this idea where we think that one day we will be excellent, one day we will do things a certain way. But I learned that excellence starts at the level where you are right now. If you are still renting, you want to take care of the house that you are renting. If you own a small house and wish you had a bigger house, you start by taking care of the small house that you have. If you have a job right now that you don't like and wish you had a higher position, you start to be the best at that position that you are in right now. Excellence at your level. Excellence where you are right now. And if you will not be excellent where you are right now, you can forget about the next level. And so I had to make a commitment to myself, Poloko, you will be excellent. Every video that you make, you will now give it your best. Whatever you do now, you will give your best to it. Every conversation that you have, you will try your best to make sure that it is the best conversation. Whatever you write, whatever you record, whatever you do, every speaking engagement that you have, when you stand in front of people, you will make sure that you are prepared. Be excellent on your level. And the next word that I wrote down was balance. Wrote down the word balance because For some time in my life, I fell into this trap of thinking that life is all about work-life balance. You have to have everything. And I want to say to you right now that no one can have everything at the same time and excel at the highest level. See, unless you're willing to be average, if you have accepted mediocrity, you can have balance across the board. But anyone who is on the pursuit, on a quest for excellence, on a quest to be exceptional, you can never have balance. You live your life by seasons. You live your life understanding that there is a season for focus. There is a season where I need to exclude everything else just to focus on this. And then there is a season where I might just take care of myself and my family and spend some time with the kids, spend some time with friends, and just focus on that. But there are seasons. There are seasons when I can't afford to be there for every invitation. There are seasons when I cannot afford to be there when you call me. There are seasons when my phone has to be off because I'm focused on some other things. I cannot have balance. Sometimes I will go an entire 7 days without seeing anyone for leisure or just to have casual conversations. And that's okay. There's no reason why I should be pursuing balance when my life is not what it should be. Balance is a myth. For some time, I had believed it. And the next word that ties in with this previous word so well, the next word that I wrote down was obsession. Obsession. You will have to be obsessed. It doesn't matter what it is, you have to be obsessed with it. You'll have to be obsessed with winning. If you say you're tired of losing, there comes a point when you have to be obsessed with winning by any means necessary. I will stop at nothing. There is nothing that I will not do. There is nothing that I will not give. I want to win to the exclusion of everything else. And then the last word that I wrote down, and it's not the last word, I'm just trying to keep this video short. But the last word that I want to share with you is accountability. Not to other people, but to yourself. Accountability to yourself, because the truth is, it's very easy to think of your life in years. But I want to encourage you to think of your life in days. That you hold yourself accountable at the end of every single day. That you hold yourself accountable at the end of today. You take a look at your life and say, what did I do with today? To hold yourself accountable. Let me tell you this, everything in your life is measurable. Everything in your life. Your relationships, your job, the sales you made, the hours you put in, the effort you put in, everything is measurable. And so accountability to yourself is you taking an honest look at your life, an honest look at what you're doing, and having an honest measuring system where you hold yourself accountable and say, today you didn't do what you said you would do. This week you did not really apply yourself this week. Do better next week. And the danger of not doing this is that you think of your life in years, and by the time you try to correct the year, it's already November. The year is already over. And you realize that you haven't done much. But if you measure the days, you will realize that by the second day, you will realize that I'm playing. Nothing is moving, nothing is happening. So, there's a lot more that can be said about this, but what I want to say to you is, if you are tired of losing, you have to make some resolutions. If you're tired of losing, you have to get to a point where some resolutions are made and you make some decisions. When I talk about resolutions, I'm not talking about wishful thinking. I'm not talking about a wish on a star. I'm talking about a made-up mind. From now on, this is what I do. This is who I am. This is how I live my life. Make some resolutions. And if you're tired of losing, stop making excuses for your losses. Stop justifying your losses. And get real with yourself.
When you change your thoughts, you change your life. This is Thoughts That Count with Poloko.